Hello everybody, welcome back to That Fiction Life. This video I'm very excited to be collaborating with one of my favourite YouTubers, Story from Storribook.
Hey everyone, my name is Story and I am from the channel Storribook. I am a book reviewer. I do a lot of bookish content, but I also have some videos about TV and movies.
We have both been known to make a few Twilight-based videos, so today we're going to be recommending you books and TV shows based on the Cullens. Now the Cullens are one of my favourite literary families of all time. For obvious reasons. All their backstories are so intricate.
I'm so excited to do this. I have some really fun and interesting book, TV show, and movie recommendations. And I also made a quiz on BuzzFeed a while back that is very accurate, has a lot of detailed character descriptions and like matches. So I'm sure Olivia will link that down below. Thank you, Olivia, for having me on your channel. I'm excited to do this. Let's get into it.
Now over on Story's channel, we reacted to bad Twilight reviews. It was hilarious. I mean, we really went to town. Make sure to go over to Story's channel to check that out. I will of course put a link in the description. So first up we have Bella Swan, of course the protagonist of the Twilight Saga, and for her I have chosen Sweet Black Waves by Christina Perez. Now Bella is someone that really enjoys classical romance. She has many times mentioned the books that she has on the bookshelf, like Pride and Prejudice and Wuthering Heights, and I thought this would be perfect. It's a retelling of the legend of Isolde and Tristan, told from the perspective of Branwen, Isolde's lady-in-waiting, and it's about forbidden love and myths and warring countries. You know, Bella herself has had some experience in forbidden romance, plus she clearly enjoys historical settings. The research in this book is so vast. Christina herself actually has a doctorate in medieval literature, so you can rest assured that this book is authentic and it reads beautifully.
Next is the one, the only Edward Cullen. This is my personal favorite Cullen and also my favorite character of the Twilight Saga just in general. I know Olivia doesn't feel the same, but I feel like I have some pretty good recommendations based on his character. The first one is a book recommendation, and that is The Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. We follow our main character August, who was born a monster but he doesn't want to be one, so he has this constant internal conflict within himself of good versus evil, a lot of thoughts about morality and just criticism within himself, things that he can't control but he wants to control. This is literally Midnight Sun. No, I'm just kidding. It's really not, but we are in a town called Verity where there are basically just different types of monsters, and there are vampires in this series. August isn't a vampire, he's a different type of monster, but you do also have that element. But basically August is Edward. If you like Edward's entire character and, you know, character arc, then you are going to love this. So the show I'm recommending for Edward's character is Bates Motel. So this show is so underhyped. This is an amazing show. It's one of my like top 4 shows on Netflix personally. If you've ever seen Psycho, it is about Norman Bates, the main character, but when he was young, so kind of how he came to be the serial killer that he is. And I know I'm saying Edward is basically a serial killer, but like he kind of was at one point, right? Midnight Sun just made me realize he's just a psycho obsessive vampire stalker. He even says it himself. There's a quote in Midnight Sun where he says he's an obsessed vampire stalker, and he's like feeling bad for himself, of course. But those are my main reasons I'm linking those together. Bates Motel is a very like dark show as well, and I feel like Edward is just a dark melodramatic emotional person.
For Alice Cullen, I have chosen Anna K by Jenny Lee. This book is Gossip Girl meets Crazy Rich Asians, full of fashion and scandals, and that is definitely right up Alice's wheelhouse because she is someone that definitely loves to shop and cares about her image. And this book is actually an Anna Karenina retelling. Anna, the heroine, has spent her whole life maneuvering how people see her. She comes from a very prominent family, so everything that she does is under a microscope. It's a story discovering first love, and I definitely think that Anna and Alice would get along because they have a quite similar outlook on everything. They're very dramatic people.
So next is Jasper Hale Cullen. I do like his power, and I do like his relationship with Alice. The first thing I thought of was You, the TV show on Netflix. I've also read the book, You by Caroline Kepnes. I have it right here. I actually did 2 vlogs of me reading this and then watching the show, so I compare the two. Joe is a stalker, and honestly, I thought of this show for Edward at first, and Olivia was like, no, that's definitely Jasper. Like, I can just see Jasper in the black hat staring from afar, like stalking from afar. And that's so true. There's a lot to Jasper, you know, but Jasper is just very weird and like uncomfortable and awkward, and if he was a real person, I could not be in the same room as him. And after you discover like how Joe is like internally, he comes off as a normal guy, but he really isn't normal underneath. And I feel like anyone that would come across Jasper would feel the same way too. Yeah, he loves really hard as well, and we know that Jasper loves really hard. He just like feels all sorts of emotions all the time, and they go like back and forth, and obviously Jasper feels everyone's emotions and he can like switch them off and on and stuff like that.
Next up we have Rosalie, and Rosalie is my favorite Cullen. And this whole video idea actually came out of me and Story loving Rosalie. I actually think that Rosalie would make such a good heroine of her own story, and you have to admit a series all about Rosalie would be so entertaining.
Rosalie is probably one of the least liked Cullens, and I never really understood why. I feel like she deserves more as a character. I think she's more than just this cocky, jealous, beautiful, blonde bombshell that people think she is. I always really admired her strong feminine power. She knows what she wants. She doesn't take no for an answer, in a sense that like she's gonna get what she wants. I admire that a lot. She's not gonna let anyone come in her way. Yes, she is very stubborn, and that is very annoying, but I am the same way. If I have a goal or a mission, like I'm going to complete it, and I just hate how sometimes if you're a female, that automatically just means you're a brat, a bitch.
I love how much she sticks to what she believes in. She will not be swayed by other people's opinions, and she's quite admirable in a lot of ways, and the hatred that she gets, especially reading Midnight Sun, I think that book really fleshed out her character. Her scenes with Edward made us really understand her a lot more than the little snippets we saw in Eclipse. You were really able to see that vulnerable side to her.
She has boundaries and limits set, and she is vocal about that. So I feel like it does teach girls to do that, to set boundaries and also communicate those boundaries. She is just so in your face, sassy, feminine, I'm gonna rule the world, don't mess with me. I know that can be seen as like super cocky. We all have egos, right? Like, let's be a little bit nicer to Rosalie. She had a rough life as well. Her life didn't end gently. Basically, her beauty brought her to her death, and that's just like a whole nother conversation, and she didn't get everything out of her human life that she wanted. So now her actions and her reactions are based off of that.
And yes, you can definitely argue that she was being unfair to Bella. She just doesn't understand how someone would give up their humanity willingly because she didn't have that choice. And I think you really have to analyze that if you're going to criticize her for her strong feelings about this whole situation. And I think something that Stephanie definitely could have utilized more was that mental health aspect. I think that would have been really impactful for this series. So when I was picking a recommendation based on Rosalie, I had to pick the most sassiest, headstrong character. And so A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown is the ideal pick. Karina, the main character, reminds me of Rosalie in so many ways. She makes decisions based on what she wants. And I think it's really interesting seeing those characters that go after their own individual goals, no matter who gets burned along the way. So the main premise of this book follows two characters who are actually quite set on murdering each other, and the other don't know about it. So throughout this whole book, it's a little bit of a cat and mouse chase, except they're both the cats. The series is based on West African folklore and is beautifully atmospheric. and it's one of my favorite books of this year actually, because it was so full of plot twists.
So like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid would be perfect for Rosalie's character. Our main character, Evelyn Hugo, is this badass blonde female Slytherin, and I just feel like her character is so similar to Rosalie. She is very vain and, you know, has an ego and reflects back to her beauty, but she is so much more than that. She has to hide parts of herself from people because of that. So I feel like that's very similar to Rosalie as well. She's very classy and she's rich. She's all about, you know, the fame and the attention and the money, and I feel like that's something that Rosalie would be about too.
Emmett, I've chosen The Umbrella Academy. Now this series follows a very dysfunctional family. Something you could argue that's what the Cullens are. And each of the children have a special ability. Now an apocalypse is coming and it is up to them to save the world, as that is what their billionaire father has envisioned for their future. So he's pretty much been training them for this moment. This is definitely a very offbeat, whimsical type of series where the characters don't take themselves very seriously. And I can totally imagine Emmett being one of them. He definitely reminds me of Luther, not in personality, but they do have the same ability. They're both extra strong. And Emmett brought the comedic relief to the Twilight series. And something I love about this series is that, yes, the characters are all very sassy and quite peculiar, you could say. They all have really deep backstories, and just the character arcs have a lot of depth, and that is something that's very true about Emmett. And it's something that we really saw in Midnight Sun. His close relationship with Edward was definitely something that I wasn't expecting. And Emmett is also an underrated character. He's supposed to be this jock, but if you look at his backstory, yes, you can argue that the bear attack isn't the most craziest origin compared to the rest of the Cullens, but I think it's his relationship with Rosalie that is really a true testament to his character, because for her to trust him after all that she has been through shows what sort of a person he is.
Next on the list is good old dad. Carlisle Cullen, one of my other favorite Cullens, my second favorite Cullen. I couldn't think of much with him, to be honest. With Carlisle's character, I just think of morality. I just think of a god, honestly. A zaddy. I first wrote down Grey's Anatomy because, I mean, McDreamy, hello, he is a hot dad doctor. Makes sense. I'm gonna recommend two movies because I don't really have any books that are as perfect as Carlisle Cullen. So the first movie I'm gonna recommend is Bruce Almighty. I know everyone and their mother has probably seen this movie by now. I grew up watching this movie 1,000 times. I feel like this movie is fun. It's funny, obviously, but it does deal a lot with morality, and there's a ton of life lessons within this movie, and it does deal with, you know, like God and religion as well. And we all know that Carlisle's father was a preacher or priest who hunted vampires. That's how he became a vampire, because he was hunting vampires with his father and his like mob, and the vampire got to him. There's a lot of life lessons in that movie, and we deal with a lot of morality, and it's also lighthearted. I feel like Carlisle's very just like lighthearted and charming, and everyone, you know, loves him. Everyone has a good first impression of him. There's also a movie on Netflix I want to recommend called Circle. It starts off, you don't know where these characters are, but there are like 20, maybe 30 characters, and they are all set up in a circle where they can't move, but people start dying off, and they realize that they have to decide who to kill. So as a group, collectively, they have to kill off characters and people, but they don't know what's gonna like happen at the end. They just know that they have to make the decision of killing people. And so there's a lot of manipulation going on, a lot of drama and like underlying motives for characters and all that, but obviously this is a big take on morality once again.
Now for Esme, I have chosen Big Little Lies. Now she is someone that I definitely think of who will do anything for their family. A Big Little Lies definitely focuses on that, where everything looks perfect and it's all too good to be true. And each of the characters are struggling with different things, and the series really delves into that. It is a mystery series, and I feel as though Esme would really enjoy that because it has those really strong family aspects, it has the intrigue, intrigued. So those are all of our recommendations for all of the Cullens. Thank you so much, Story, for coming onto my channel.
Thank you, Olivia, for having me. Be sure to head over to my video on my channel that also features Olivia. We are reacting to bad reviews of Twilight and Midnight Sun, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So thanks for having me, you guys. Be sure to check us out over there.
Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. Bye!